Evening at 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the Town of Victor Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Under God. For all. Welcome, everyone. A few housekeeping matters, emergency exits right off to the side or out in the back. The restrooms are in the lobby area. Please be sure to sign the attendance sheet if you haven't done so already. There are business cards out at the back table next to the sign-in sheet, along with the proposed resolutions. Please turn off your cell phones or please silence them so as not to disturb the meeting. If you have any conversations that don't relate to the meeting that's presently being heard, please take it out in the hallway. As far as the individual hearings themselves, the process that we like to do here is that if you have exhibits, certainly you may use any exhibits that you choose. If you've submitted them, let us know which exhibits that you're talking about. If you're referring to an exhibit, please say on compass points or structures. Please try to avoid saying, if you can see over here, if you can see over there. It's hard because when Amber takes the record and then the minutes are being read, when you read over here, over there, it really doesn't translate very well. So the more descriptive words that you use, the better. When you come up to the podium, please identify yourselves. Also, when you're speaking, we're going to do our very best not to interrupt or talk over the individual, and vice versa. If you could do so when we're speaking, hold your thought, and you're going to get a chance to turn, because this is another difficulty that the minutes have, I suppose, or Amber has, that she doesn't know who's talking if everybody's talking over each other. So take your turn and take your time. You have as much time as need be. With that, let's the approval of the April 17th, 2023 minutes. I'll need a motion for approval. Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thanks so much. The first hearing is the Crutchen matter. Anyone here for that? All right, so we will put that at the end. It's a bit of a housekeeping issue. Next, is it Ridley or Ridley? Ridley? Ridley. Come on up. You are?
I am Brian Ridley.
Okay, Brian. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Why don't
you.
you tell us what your application's about?
It's a pole barn variance based off the lot we had purchased. There is conservation easement, so inside of the buildable area is where we're trying to stay. But given the landscape of the lot, there's a lot of drumlins and natural characteristics that they want to try to keep, the town would like us to keep. So where I originally would like to put the pole barn would have been in the northeast corner, but being that there's a 20-foot drop off back there, we would have to move too much earth around to be able to do that. So I am proposing, or would like to put in a variance to have it move to the west side of the lot, but it's going to be forward of the house, but it technically would sit behind the hill, which is on the left side.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, and speaking with Adam, it's currently a vacant lot,
Yes.
and there are conservation easements on 3 sides. Is that right?
Yes. Everything inside of the dotted line is the buildable area. Everything else outside of that. So 50% of it is conservation easement.
All right, and the issue that's being presented here is the code requires that any structures other than the principal structure, let me rephrase that, principal structure is to be constructed sometime in the future, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the code requires that pole barn sheds, garages, whatnot, are to be constructed either at or behind.
Correct.
Right. So the problem that we're facing here is you haven't even dug the foundation for the principal structure yet.
No, we have not.
All right. So this puts the board into a bit of a quandary, you're putting the cart before the horse. So if we're to look at a variance or request for a variance, usually the principal structure's already there, and then the applicant might say, well, we'd like to have the pole barn forward of the principal structure because topography, whatever the reasons may or may not be.
Okay.
Let me ask you, when do you propose to break ground for the principal structure?
We are looking to do that within a year. We would like to do all that all at one time, the pole barn included.
So why not wait till the principal structure is in, or at least the foundation is in, and then say, this is where we like to put the pole barn?
We could. I mean, the layout for the homes is on there as well.
So is there a reason why the principal structure can't be moved further south onto the property to make room for the pole barn where you'd like it to be?
No, the house being moved further south? I'm sorry? I misunderstood what you said there.
So currently, what you're proposing is the principal structure is to be at the north end of the parcel, is that right?
Correct.
And you'd like the pole barn to be south of the principal structure.
Yes.
So what I'm asking you is, could you move the principal structure south onto the property sufficient enough so that you could have the pole barn either at the same, I guess, east and
I
west,
see
without
what you're
being
saying.
forward of the
Yep.
principal structure?
Laying this out like a puzzle, no, would be my answer, because of the drop-off. There's almost a 40-foot drop-off from the point of the hill just south of the house. And as you can see, we have a guest house, which is basically the in-laws' quarters, which is attached to the house. So again, we would have to move all sorts of earth around and basically wipe out the hills in order to do something of that nature. And we're trying to keep the natural characteristics per the agreement, which they would like us to do.
Okay, so putting that on hold for a moment, can't speak for the rest of the board. One of my major concerns here is that you haven't even broken ground yet.
Correct.
So without the foundation being where you'd like it to be, it's difficult in my eyes to grant a variance when we don't even know where the principal structure is.
Okay.
It's a proposal is what you're looking at.
Right, I see what you're saying. We do know that the principal structure, based off what we have written down here in that drawing, is where we would like that to be.
Okay, understood. Fred, you got questions?
It's hilly,
It's very hilly.
and we allowed a shed in front of a house right in the neighborhood not long ago. And I drove by it today. I don't really pay much attention to the one that we approved. Must be right near here. Forget the name of the people, but. So, I would go along with building the house first. And when the house is 7/8 done or come back, I would personally look favorable on putting a shed. How big is the shed?
Well, I want the biggest that I would possibly build, which would be 40 by 80.
40
we may
by
not-
80?
40 by 80 by 12, but we're not looking at possibly not going that big. What's that?
Again, the size of it?
40 by 80.
Barn. Yeah, it's a
Pole barn.
pretty good sized shed, isn't it?
Pole barn. Which is why, like,
Guess I
based off
wasn't
the
thinking
land.
Quite that big.
What's that?
I wasn't thinking quite that big.
But that's why we're laying it out there, once we get to the top of the hill, which is the flattest area to actually build the home. That's why we put the home there, and the only way to tuck it, I would have liked to have had it in northeast corner, like I said, but the problem with that is there's such a drop-off back there that we'd had to push so much earth around, and then I know the Conservation Board is worried about, erosion of the conservation easement with a major drop-off over there, grade the land that way. So the best thought we had was to tuck it behind the front and the hill in the front there on the left-hand side, where the driveway would run up between the valley of the two hills. And so it's off to the side, but it's kind of somewhat tucked away, it's not like, boom, sitting right out in front of you. And of course, everything is to be matched with the house, so it kind of, everything blends in. It's not going to build a white house and stick a yellow pole barn out in the middle of nowhere, so,
I would hope not.
no.
Well, good luck on hiding that. That's all I got.
Alexis, questions?
Questions? I see what you're saying though, Mike, about like doing it too early almost.
Hmm?
Is this all like set in stone? I mean, the plans, the architecture, everything kind of.
It's everything, pretty much what we have is laid out, yes.
Yeah, I guess my only concern would be we grant the variance and then you have to come back, move something a couple feet or something like that.
This is, again, uncommon. To put a barn on a parcel without a home on there is, it's almost unheard of. You can't do it.
Because sometimes the house doesn't show up.
No, I understand that completely. And like I said,
That's the
if anything,
whole-
we want to do
that's-
it all at the same time.
That's what's driving the train here, at least in my mind, is if you've broken ground, you poured the foundation for the home, now you've committed that there's going to be a home there. Chances are you're going to keep going. You're not going to stop doing it. But if we grant a variance with the pole barn up, the pole barn goes up, and then you say, well, I ran out of money, I'm not going to put the house up.
Understood.
You've gotten what you wanted.
Yeah, understood.
and- Okay, that's
But
it.
is the applicant asking us to build the barn first, or you're just asking for approval? Would you be okay with a variance that says, with a condition that says the barn is built after the house, but as proposed, we're okay with?
Yes,
with-
I'm primarily
Yeah, 'cause
just
I didn't
looking
think
for
he
the
was asking
variance.
to put one before the other.
Yeah.
The other problem then is if you grant the variance hypothetically today, it won't be today because it's got to go to the county planning board. It's granted today, once it's filed, was it 1 year from the granting of the variance that you have to use it? If that house isn't done, the variance is expired.
Okay, then you have to reapply.
You're going to have to reapply, and everyone's spinning their wheels with a particular issue. So there's a couple of moving parts that need to be pinned down.
I look favorably on the variance, but the timing, I don't want to, mess you up with construction or have you have to come back 3-4 times, ask for it to be changed. So, right the first time we do it.
Right. Leah, questions, comments?
Yeah, well, most of the comments were already made, but it seems you said the location of the house is already approved and the proposed location of the barn where you want it, you already documented that. And I guess from everything you said, you can't move, it's not feasible to move the house to another location.
It is, if we really needed to, we could. Again, the problem with it is based off the house and the in-laws quarters like that, that is the flattest part of the land
Yeah.
up top there, which is why we have that there.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with Mike. It's better to wait until you have something more definitive.
Okay.
And that way we can then see it clearer, and also refer, this is a good topographical map because this shows us also where the drop-offs are, but, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I don't agree that we should issue it today. Just let you break ground, let you get a definitive location of where the foundation is, and then we can work from there. And this pole barn, what do you propose to store in it?
Vehicles. I'm a car collector,
Oh,
so I don't want to have everything just laying out.
No, I don't blame you. And just electricity in there, no other utilities?
Nope, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I need to wait until the applicant breaks ground, but I would think just when you have a firm plan, so if you said today that this is the plan and this is what we're going with, and to Mike's point, we'll have this thing started and, within the year, and the pole barn will come after the primary structure, I'm okay with it. I don't think I would have a problem with that. I don't think you need to start laying bricks or anything like that, but when you have to the rest of the board members' points, I think it's, when you feel comfortable that you have a solid plan, this is what you're gonna move forward with, and then we can make decisions based on engineering drawings that say, this is how far this is gonna be from here, and those types of things, then I'm okay with it as proposed, in general, right?
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you're there yet, right? If the clock starts ticking today or really next month, after the county comes back, I'm not sure if you'd be in a position to be able to say, yeah, in a year from now, this whole thing's gonna be done. It
Yeah,
sounds like
it's
you're a little on the
all
fence
been a
with that.
learning curve up to this point with back and forth questions with Lisa and stuff, and, she was actually the one that proposed, I applied for the variance at this time to see if that could go through as well at the same time, so.
Okay, so as I indicated earlier, needs to go to the county planning board. Do you understand how that process works?
No.
All right, so because of the location of County Road 41, the law requires that the county planning board weigh in or give an advisory opinion about what, if any, impact it may have on other municipalities that are close to it or the county as a whole. Depending on how they give us, as far as what that advisory opinion is, will indicate whether or not we can either approve it or deny it. But if we are planning on denying it, then it also depends on what kind of majority has to be given for the denial. If you're not sure what that means, I advise you, seek counsel, but it's in general municipal law. If it doesn't make sense, ask me, and maybe I can explain it a little differently.
Okay.
All right. So the other piece I'm curious about is one of the criteria that we look at is whether or not the applicant can pursue this, what you're looking for, without the need of a variance. So is there a reasonable way to do it? Can you comply with the code? It's an analysis that we have to look at. So one of the pieces then potentially could be, you're saying, well, gee, the topography really doesn't lend itself well to moving the house forward, or forward to such a degree that it's going to cost money. Would you be willing then to talk, it looks like you've done some plans, you got an engineer on board, to give us an estimate to say, in order to comply with the code, the house is going to have to move X amount of feet further south, and it's going to cost more to construct the house. It doesn't have to be to the penny, but if some engineer said, look, if you really want to comply with the code, yes, you can do it, but it's going to cost X. Right?
Right.
That's going to give us an indication as how reasonable is it to comply with the code, as opposed to what it sounds like you're saying is, these are really the best places for the homes, not just because I want them there, because it makes the most economic sense. That makes sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, and then the other potential piece is, if the board decides to grant the variance, what they may look at is say, if they grant the variance, they may put a condition on to say, you have to break ground first before you construct the pole barn.
Okay.
And if you don't, potentially what you could do is say, gee, I'm not ready to break ground yet, even though the variance has been granted. You may have to come back in here and ask for an extension to break ground, so you don't lose that variance. All right, so there are some ways we can do it without just saying, now you got to break ground first and then come back. All right, we're trying to make this as efficiently as we can. All right,
I appreciate it.
All right?
Yeah,
Questions?
I don't see how we could have him break ground first, because he's gonna have to have a set of, right, engineering drawings,
Yes.
right, to go out and get a building permit, so it's one of those, I think if we wait until he's got a foundation in on the primary structure, then there's only one thing he can do.
That's just it. When speaking with Adam before, that if there is that intent, you've broken ground, the foundation's dug, that's where it's going to go, you're not going to, I hope, you're not going to push the dirt back in and move it some other place, right? You're showing some intent that this is where it's going to go, but I still think it would be wise for the board to put the condition and say, you need to get substantially going on that house before you put a pole barn up, just so you don't have just the barn on the property, which the code doesn't permit in the
Allow,
first
right.
place.
Yep.
Okay?
It's really, yeah, the house has to finish first. I think technically, right, the house has to be, have a C of O first, or how would you do that?
What we typically require is the foundation
Okay.
before you start construction on the pole.
Not
barn.
before he gets, obviously before he gets the variance. That's what I was referring to earlier.
Well, I
No, we don't
can't
wait- we
approve
wouldn't
the
wait.
permit without the variance. I can't approve his site plan as it is.
Right. So that's what I'm saying, so he has to have the drawings, then a variance, then construction on something. Not construction on something and then a variance.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Right.
You would have to try to do it simultaneously. If you guys were to go the route of wanting the foundation in the ground before he came back for approval, then they would have to take the pole barn off the site plan for me to approve the site plan for the house. And then they could draw a new site plan with the pole barn back on it and come for the variance. So that's up to you guys.
Okay?
So if I break ground for the house, just so I understand this, so the plan would be, once I had the foundation down, then I could start the pole barn, because if we're gonna pour concrete, again, I'm just thinking ahead, I wanna pour all this at one time.
Yes, sir.
You just want the variance before you even get that far.
Yes, exactly, yes.
And there would be conditions that we would give to you. It's, this is what has to happen first, second, third,
Yep.
instead of just keeping our fingers crossed that you're going to
Right, no,
complete the
no,
job.
completely understood.
Okay, good. Anyone else, questions, concerns?
So we'd vote on a
You
variance.
need anything over in the barn to help fill out a spot or two?
If we could push this through, and I got a spot open for you.
All right, wait,
What do I sign?
So we'd vote on the variance at the next meeting, or the
If
next
the-
meeting comes?
if the county, yeah, depending on how the county, yes, the answer, we potentially could vote on the variance next time around, once we have a look at the county planning board advisory opinion, and then we can figure out if we want to grant it, and if so, with what conditions.
We only have a year to use the variance, so time it so that he doesn't have to come back.
Right, so this is, it's happened before, there's a mechanism that if it's now, we're in '23, so if it comes to March of 2024, and you haven't even started yet, you would be wise to come back in and say, I'm a little behind, for reasons
Right, for an
X, Y, and
extension.
Z, I need an extension.
Correct.
And it would be up to the board then to decide, we'll give you the extension, it sounds like it's a good reason, or if you're just kicking the can down the road, and we say, no, you're not gonna do it. We just would deny the whole thing.
How far off the road would the barn be, do you think?
The house is about 350 feet to 400 feet off the road, so the pole barn would probably be at least 250. And like I said, there is a big hill in front of it as well, so it's kind of sitting behind the hill.
Okay?
Yeah.
Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? No. No, come on, we can't hear you, come on up, don't be shy.
Frank Petrosino, hopefully I'm the good in-law that's moving in up there too. I'm a little perplexed. So if we break ground and then we apply for the variance, is that what you were saying?
No, you've already applied for the variance, the variance process is underway.
Okay,
The caution I'm getting, this is your son-in-law?
yep,
Okay, giving your son-in-law is, it's a bit premature on its face that you're asking for a variance before the principal building is even started. But there is some mechanisms that if everything falls into place and the board decides to grant the variance only lasts for a year, but potentially the conditions to the variance would be, you need to do certain steps first. You can't build a pole barn first and then figure out, I'm going to build my principal structure later. You need to show the intent of, we're going to put principal structure, and you do that by showing your foundations in.
Right. And the other comment I'd make, I understand now, thank you. The other comment I'd make is, when we met, we walked that field umpteen times with the Conservation Department. And when we met with them, their concern was all the drumlins, they didn't want to move them. And so we put in a meandering driveway around the drumlins, the whole thing. And if the house comes forward, then we're going to get into the drumlins.
So, that's an interesting point. So if you could get something from the conservation easement to say, this is really the best place for the principal structure, this is the best place for the pole barn, so as not to disturb the drumlins, that gives us some clues about why it is that you really don't have many choices here, where to put the pole barn, where to put the principal structure.
Because I had just met with them last week or the week prior, so
Something is,
to get something in writing from those.
that would help.
From them. Okay,
Because
all right.
we've had this a few too many times when applicant comes in and says, well, she said this and
Yeah.
he said that, and that gets very confusing.
I mean, they did reply back with some of the questions and answers and said, they didn't have any issue with it.
Or if they come in next time and,
I can pull the minutes from that meeting.
okay, great. That would be great then. Perfect.
Very good, thank you.
All right,
All right,
we're good?
thank you.
Have a good
Appreciate
evening.
your time.
Next is the wood application.
Good evening. Darwin Wood, 6721 County Road 41. And we are requesting an approval of the variance to divide our current 2.6 acre parcel into two parcels, one being 1.45 acres, which would be the parcel that our current home is on, and the other being the 1.15 acres that would be the vacant parcel which we would wish to sell.
Okay, so, nutshell, you're asking to subdivide a 2.6 acre lot into two parcels. Right, you said one is 1.1 acre, the other is 1.5 acres?
1.45, yeah.
1.45, okay. And you understand, at least the code requires at least 2 acres per lot.
Right, correct.
So it's the density issues what's
The
being
density
flagged
is
here.
is the issue here, right, yeah.
Before we get too deep into it, I asked Adam to do a quick search, and it appears that there have been no variances that have been granted in the last 15 years for this specific request. So that's going to, it's a hard ask, if you will, for a variance when it's going to change the character of the neighborhood, and really the density issues is in the code. Doesn't mean you're not going to get it, but it's just, that's what you're up against.
Right.
The other piece, much like the prior applicant, has to go to the county planning board. Their comments will come back, we'll take a look at it, so we can't decide on it today.
Correct, right.
Questions, concerns?
Yeah, one on the character of the neighborhood, I'm looking at, looks like 1515 Bryce Road, 6715, county, to the east and to the west of you. Most of those parcels look like they're less than 2 acres.
Yes, they
So
are.
I'm assuming previously existing non-conforming. What, is most of the neighborhood like that, Adam? Is it?
I wouldn't say most of the neighborhood, no. the overlay district, it's not a matter of whether or not the parcel, a 1 acre parcel, is sufficient enough for a single-family home lot. It's the density overlay for subdivision requires, 0.5 acre per unit. So he's starting out with less than 3 acres trying to,
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he would be the only one in the neighborhood that would be 0.5 per, like today, I'm just looking at the snapshot that was provided by the applicant.
the other thing is that the overlay line is the edge of his property. 6715 is in the A overlay district.
Okay, and then so it goes east.
Yep, to the east.
that.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking at, right, 1515 next to it, and then 1510 across Brace Road. I mean, 1510 looks like it's,
So 1515 was part of your parcel, if I understand that
Yes, it was
correctly?
originally, yes.
And you had 4 acres at that time?
4.4, yeah.
Right, and so it met the density
Correct.
for subdivision.
okay. So is there a reason other than you just trying to maximize the return you get on the land for wanting to subdivide it into two?
Well, no, like I say, I see the property, and I just feel it could be used for a better purpose than the overgrowth that's there. But in response to the other lots, there are 4 properties to the east of us, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if they're all in the overlay district B or not, but I'm quite sure they're not much more than an acre if they are. So I think it would kind of blend in with the area more if there was a home there.
Sure. But on the, just back to my question, so is there again, other than just wanting to get 2 buildable lots out of 1, is there any other reason why you want to do it?
Other than the aesthetics, like I said, I think it would I actually think it would improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood and with moving all that, getting rid of all that overbrush.
I mean, you could do that. You could get
Well, yeah,
rid
I
of
could-
I mean, you could do that, right?
Right,
mean, you
yes, I could
get
just,
rid of the
clean that off if I want to
turn
clean it.
into a
right.
lawn for sure.
But that would be more property that I would have to maintain in it. At my age, I'm trying to minimize that if I can.
Understood.
But I just feel it, it would make a nice building lot for someone interested in moving into the town.
I'm okay for now, Mike.
Alexis, questions?
Do we have anything here from your neighbors?
There are neighbors here, yes.
Oh, okay. Will we get to asking people?
Yeah.
Public after? Okay.
Yeah, once we're done, then we'll ask the public for comments.
Okay. Perfect. That was it.
Okay.
Leah?
I think I saw on here, you're on public sewer, not septic, correct?
No, it is a septic.
Oh,
It is septic, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a septic system, and 1515 Brace Road has one, but they have a raised bed system because there was clay there, but, so this lot would also require a septic system, whether it be conventional or raised bed.
Yeah. I guess, Mike, that's something more the planning board would look at, for environmental impact, okay.
And there's public water and natural gas available there also.
And just, I wanted to point out because I think you probably just forgot to answer one question on bear with me a minute, let me pull it up. On your application. The environmental assessment form on 17A. The question was, on that subpart A, will stormwater discharges flow to adjacent properties? You maybe just forgot to check yes or no.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, on 17A, the question was, will stormwater discharges flow to adjacent properties? You didn't answer yet, check yes or no.
Oh, okay, yeah, I struggle with the application a little bit, I must be honest there, but, yeah, I don't think there would be any
Okay.
issue with any stormwaters now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it, but,
Fred, questions?
Now, I'm gonna between now and the county return, I want to take a look at the adjacent properties.
All right. Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? Come on up.
I'm on the 1510, which is across Brace Road.
And you are?
My name is Kathy
Kathy?
Berry.
Kathy
With
Berry?
My dad is Bob Berry. He's actually lived on that corner for 91 years. He was born in the house across the road. So I didn't get to move there until 1963. We honestly have no problem with it, because what Darren was saying, like all the other houses, like the house next to it and the house next to it, all of those are definitely smaller lots. I mean, those were all approved back when they sold it, because it was my grandfather's farm and it was divided. So I don't have an issue with that, because aesthetically, Darren's right. I mean, it'd be nice to have it be nice lawn. My question is, we have the property, the other two properties that have got right next to it. The ones, it's not south, yes, south and southeast. We have both, I have both of those properties, and when we originally were asking about it years ago, it was a minimum of 5 acres, because they said it was a septic. So we had to sell it in minimums of 5-acre lots. And then it got changed to 2.5. So I was just wondering if there's something that changed, because I've been trying to sell this property for many, many years. And I just thought maybe the rules changed or something. Because when we tried to sell the property just south of that, it said we had to have something like 130 road frontage or something. And I just didn't know if, like I said, we don't care if that gets divided, but I just don't understand why it's okay to have one person have a 1-acre lot, and if I sell the property, I have to have a 2.5-acre lot.
All right, so one piece I could answer for you is the pre-existing condition. So we're 1510, sounds like that parcel has been in your family for a long time, right?
Actually, all of that parcel up to Boughton Hill and up to Guinan's was all on my
Okay,
grandfather's
but
farm.
currently,
So
1510, how long is that parcel as it's shown on the map? How long has that existed?
It's 1 acre. It's 1963.
Okay, so that's a pre-existing condition.
Right.
So the code has changed a few times and probably a few more times after
Right.
that. But to your other question, I think what Adam is looking at is the properties to the south of where you are.
I thought it said R2. I mean, up until a couple years ago, we did not have public water on Brace Road. It just got put in a couple years ago. So I know things have changed with that, so I'm just trying to find out what I have to do to sell something that's less than 2.5 acres.
All right, so what I'm going to ask, though, is because your comments are important, but some of your comments are now leading into or bleeding into a concern of what you have.
No, that's the only reason
It's
I wanted
okay.
to know,
No,
because they're connected, so.
It's absolutely okay, but we may not have to answer that question today. I think Adam either's going to, do you have the answer now, or can you want it for the
I
next meeting?
mean, it's not, I just wondered if the rules changed and you can do 1-acre lots.
So the R2 on, with public water only, is the minimum lot size is 3/4 of an acre. So that is the minimum sized for a buildable lot. When it comes to subdividing, those parcels, at least the one directly south, is definitely in the B overlay district. I'm not sure about the one to the southeast. And that has to do with the density, how many parcels you can create with the acreage you have. So I can, if you want to get with the planning and building department for more information, we can look at that for you.
What is B overlay?
So the overlay districts are created for density, the density of
Right.
the homes. And B states that 0.5 acre per unit. So you technically need an acre to build,
Right.
right, so.
Okay, so that's good. So it did change when they put the water through, is that what you're saying?
Well, so the requirement would change if they added water, because without public sewer and water, it's an acre currently, not 3/4 of an acre, so as the utilities come, the
Okay.
restrictions change.
That's fine. So do I contact you or do I contact?
If you get a hold of the planning and building department, someone will be assigned to help you, okay?
There are cards in the back with the phone numbers and email addresses. for
Thank
the-
you very much. That's good. We don't have a problem with them doing it.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak for or against the application?
My name is Alan Herderman, and 6711 Mountain Hill Road, County Road 41, whichever. And I have no problems with them doing what they're doing. And Nancy would be the one that, right close to her property line, and she lives at 6715, I believe it is, right? And if you want to say a little something, but I'm not opposed to them going ahead. I don't plan on being there very long. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. All right, you're Nancy, your last name?
Sernowski?
Okay. Anyone else want to speak for or against the application?
6715? Ma'am, you were 6715?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions, comments from the board?
I have one for the applicant. On the, if you were to subdivide it, so the current home that's there is almost right in the middle of the lot. So how would you propose, or where would you propose the other house would go, so it's not? Right, if you were to subdivide that.
Right, with the 1.1 acre?
Right. Where would you put the home?
Yeah. Well, there is sufficient area there. I spoke to the code enforcement officer here with determining the setbacks of.
Yeah, the setbacks and to make sure it's not too on top of
Right.
the home next to it, and then obviously the existing home that's there. You have I know there's a rough sketch submitted, but it didn't really show where another home would go.
Right. Yeah, the other home wouldn't necessarily have to even be in line with the other homes that are on that road. It could actually be further back because there's 388 foot of depth there. So if someone wanted to build it further from the road, I think that would look, an engineer, I guess, would look at that and decide what they felt the options to a prospective builder would be. But I think there is sufficient room, yeah.
Okay. And you confirm that then with Adam, that's okay?
Yeah, he said 130 feet of frontage, which is more than ample for a single-family dwelling.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? All right, then we will see you, when's our next meeting?
May 15th would be the meeting after the county on May 10th.
Very good.
All right,
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Ask a quick question.
sure.
My name's Richard Soper, I'm over on Brace Road. I'm looking at the map and there's an A zoning and B zoning, and that line goes right between, going just east of Mr. Wood's property. It goes from B to A. Is there a difference in the rule about density?
Yes, sir, so.
I'm sorry if I'm not hard of hearing.
Yeah, no problem. So the A overlay district is, I believe it's, I'm sorry, one second. So the B overlay is 0.5 units per acre, so you need 2 acres for a lot. And that's for a subdivision. That has nothing to do with the minimum lot requirement, lot size. A buildable lot could be much smaller than that 2 acres, but you need that acreage to subdivide in that district. It gets a little confusing.
And A, how's that?
A is,
Sorry,
I don't want to misquote it. Here we go. So A is 0.33 units per acre, so you need 3 acres, okay, per house.
Okay, so the people to the east of this.
Sir, I apologize. For the record, I can't hear you over there, so
Need the
you
mic.
gotta speak in a mic. I'm sorry. See if I
Go
can-
to the mic so
I can't hear you. I'm just curious because I live in the neighborhood and I'm in a B zoning and these people are in the A zoning and I'm wondering is there anything important difference to what Mr. Wood wants to do?
So it really comes down to, I think, that A is less dense than B, correct?
Correct.
A is one house one home per 3 acres. B is one home per 2 acres. I'm looking at Adam to keep me honest.
Yes, when you're talking about a subdivision only. The acreage you need required to subdivide. Nothing to do with the size of a buildable lot, which is much smaller. You know,
Yeah.
that goes to which residential district you're in and what utilities you're supplied with. Okay?
But I'm thinking that it just kind of approaches the question of, does it change the nature of the neighborhood by Mr. Wood asking to do what he wants to do?
We're not quite there yet.
We've been debating. That's what we've been discussing is as individual members think there's been would be a change or not, positive or negative.
We'll pin this down at the next meeting. Okay? Which you are welcome to come back. Okay, anything else? Good, thank you. We'll see you next time around on the 15th. Good.
For you guys, when you talk, me too, lean into that phone.
All right, we'll make sure we
can do
crank
that.
up the volume next time too.
Yes,
And don't be shy, if you can't hear us, just let us know. We can do that.
So we're all set.
We are all set for tonight for this application.
I gotta take my nap.
It doesn't sound too bad, actually.
Oh, sir, is this your jacket here? Sir?
Yeah. I'm dressed.
All right, mobile graphics.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the zoning board. My name is Matt Garber. I'm with DDS Companies. On behalf of Mobile Graphics, I'm here tonight to request a modification to the conditions of an existing use variance for the property at 7120 Lane Road. Any questions operationally based, I will be inviting up the owners, Chris and Rhonda Bailey, who are in attendance with us tonight. This property has an interesting history. It has operated over 30 years under a use variance with numerous modifications to the use variance, and this request is nothing out of the norm. The zoning for the parcel is split between R1 and R2, R1 being on the west, R2 on the east. Mobile Graphics has had tremendous success since they opened up in 2006 and is now in need of an expansion of the existing operations with a new building. They have been sensitive to the neighborhood and want to maintain that same relationship. And the current proposal includes a new 7,500 square foot building with minor site improvements. And they propose 2 one-bedroom accessory apartments. And after discussing with staff, We understand that the 2 one-bedroom apartments is not permitted under the R1 zone, and we would like to ask for the best approach for this. And at this time, I'd like to gather any questions or concerns you guys may have.
Okay, so I think you are aware, needs to go to the county planning board, so we can't make a determination tonight. So before we get into the history, because I don't know if, there's a lot there, and you're absolutely right. It's a long, long history, and I saw noted, actually Matt pointed it out, there's a typo on the notification. This dates back to August 28th, 1992. The issue comes in for when there is a request for a modification of a use variance. The analysis is whether or not the modification is related to the original use variance. If it's not, then you're looking at a whole use variance criteria.
A new use variance, right?
That's right, that's right. So the modification not only needs to relate, but the analysis then is it going to be more an intense use of the property than previously granted?
So we were directed by town staff, the code enforcement officer, Adam, to apply for a modification to the existing use variance.
Okay, so you have some choices here. This is potentially, it's a legal question. If you want to, you absolutely should. Go talk to legal counsel. How do you address use variances? Use variances are far different than area variances. Like, use variances, you need all 4 criteria. Now, when you get into the modification, it's a bit of a nuance when you have to show that the modification needs to be related to the original use variance. So, there are 2 parts, I think, to your, mobile graphics request. The garage and the apartments. I think it would be best if it's the analysis, look at them separately. So you would like mobile graphics, 7,488 square feet, more space.
Correct.
Is that related to the business?
Yes.
If so, how? And how is it then that it will not be or create a more intense use than what is already being used for? And the other part is the apartments. Is that related to the business? If so, how? And if so, is it going to create a more intense use? So that's what we'll be looking at. So if you want a chance to address those 2 pieces, have at it.
Yeah, I will defer the apartments to Rhonda and Chris. They can talk more about how that'll be related to
Sure.
the company.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Bailey. I reside at 650 Old Dutch Road in Victor. Just a quick question, because we did combine lots, because we did own the house next door for 20 years. So when there's a barn there now, we had to merge those 2 lots because we sold the house at 7126 Lane Road. So would that be considered now on the same lot, same special use because we're
I
combining?
was talking to Adam, you're in 2 different districts,
Right.
R1 and R2. And if I understand it correctly, and I think it is in the code, that the more restrictive district, those rules and regs apply.
Okay. I was just confused because with the county first, which we know is this week, I think, Amber, right?
May 10th.
May 10th, okay. Because they had signed us up for this meeting first without the county, which I don't know if that's normal either, so that would answer that question, that we know that the county has to approve it.
I always recommend that people come first in case you need to bring something else in the next meeting. You're prepared for
Okay.
that.
I just wanted to answer that because I was confused, like, why are we here without the county approval first, so.
I'd caution you, it's really not a county approval. It's a county recommendation, or it's an advisory board.
Okay.
So it's still our decision on what to do, but depending on what their advice is, will determine on how it is we need to vote
Okay,
on granting or denying,
gotcha.
okay?
Let you
I have a question. When you say you combine two lots with the house, I'm looking at, I think we had it up there as well, but I'm looking at the, looks like a Google Earth snapshot.
Yeah, so
That lot right there, or are you saying you combined one of the?
Well, okay, so the history is, in 1992, Eagle Distributing had a special use variance, I believe, and that building burned down. So that lot was vacant for 20-some years, I think. When we purchased the lot, we did own the house next door, 7126,
Okay.
to the right. We lived there, actually to the left, if I'm looking at the map. We owned that house for almost 20 years. So when we sold that house in 2018, that existing barn in the back, we kept. So we did in 2018 make that lot one now.
So
It was a lot line adjustment, Matt.
Yeah, thank you,
So
Ed.
the western or leftmost lot line, that is just to the left of the barn in the rear with the white roof, that lot line used to be to the right of that barn,
So
and
the-
that barn.
The
Right.
house isn't on the lot, it's just, you just moved it a little bit to take in the barn. Okay,
Correct.
I get it.
Yeah, we only wanted to sell the house and not the barn. Okay.
And then as a condition of that lot line adjustment, because of the use variance that existed, that barn was not to be used for business-related purposes.
Which it's not. There's no electricity to it when we sold the house anyway, so, and the barn's been falling apart. I think it was built in the 80s. Thank you.
And then, Chris, would you like to talk about how the apartment is part of the business? Thank you.
So, in all honesty, the apartment was an afterthought. We want the business expansion because we need it. We need room to growth. We need, basically, the business expansion is gonna take away a lot of the materials from our shop and move it over. And we also want to open up the Bay Area for installation vehicles. So the new building will not have a lot of activity as far as day-to-day employees, and we're not putting equipment over there, we're not putting, it's more storage and vehicles, so the demands on the property and stuff aren't gonna be a lot of employees running around between the two buildings. So that, I don't know if that has any grace or not. The apartments themselves, we had a little hardship in our family, and my son is requiring a little bit more maintenance, and he's 21, and the apartment was kind of a afterthought stepping stone that we can, he works at part of the business, so it was something, he can get some individualism and growth himself, and it was an opportunity for us to, keep him close to us and garnish that aspect. So that's why the apartment was an afterthought of just our family dynamics, and we had the room in the building for the expansion, so there's just a little bit of reasoning behind it, because, you request that at times.
Is it one or two apartments?
We were requesting two, just because of up and down and plumbing and just the way we could do things, but, we are definitely up for negotiations on what would be allowed.
More questions?
Looking for now.
Alexis?
If you wanted to use the one apartment for your son, were you planning on renting out the other apartment?
Or actually, we were looking to simplify our lives and possibly going into the smaller apartment ourselves.
I don't have any other questions.
Leah?
In the beginning, it was said that you plan on doing minor site improvements. What do those consist of, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Based on the increase in impervious area, we were going to expand the pond that's on site as well to maintain same drainage patterns and to help that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And I saw on site drawing C1, under the site zone notes, it said this is in the flood zone. And, based on that, are there any building restrictions, being
I
that
don't-
this is in the flood zone?
I don't think it's an,
No
yeah.
flood zone?
Oh, it might be in flood zone X, which is, or A, I don't know what it is for this town. Basically meaning that there isn't any,
It's a category.
yeah,
Oh, okay, I guess I
that might be what it is.
Okay, okay. So now, you said earlier that you wanted to expand, your business is expanding, and I saw in the documents that you're currently at, what's allowable, max of 7 employees, and so if you're expanding, do you eventually plan on hiring more employees? Because it seems your business is doing well, and you do a lot of things. It's
Yeah,
a great
very
business.
diverse, and we're trying to get
Yeah.
a handle on that ourselves and slow things down in our business and streamline a little bit. Yes, we would like to approach also to add a couple more employees. We're not looking to go gangbusters, but we currently have plenty of parking and everything to add a few more employees, but we are restricted with what we're supposed to have. I would say the Ontario County has walked through the site and was disappointed that they put that shell on us to, for employment opportunities. But with the addition, we probably would be seeking a couple more spots to add to the team. And with the new building, we'll also have a lot more parking if it was needed.
Now, another thing I saw in the, when the other variance, or earlier variance was granted, it said that the variance would not include any showroom area or like, I guess more for customers to walk in. But, and that's something we need to consider. But, we do see that you're using it and planning to expand for a show, for showroom, and what else? I saw something else. And your website said storefront, showroom, sales office, and customer interactive center.
Yeah, I mean, that part could be a little bit misleading. We are not looking to expand our sales area possibly, but our showroom area is not expanding. We're not enlarging anything in that area whatsoever in any of these plans.
And the new, well, I know in the old barn you were just storing, like personal equipment, and you mentioned there's no electricity. And with the new storage barn, also that's just going to be storage?
The new storage barn?
Yeah, yes.
Well, I indicated a corner storage because we do have a lot of stuff in that barn that we need to go through, get rid of, and
Right.
we will take a corner of that for
Okay.
those belongings. And the other area,
For the apartment, either one or two apartments. So approximately, how much of that 7488 square foot storage barn will be used for storage?
it's marked down there, I think it's, I can't read from here, 28 by 30 is the area.
For personal storage?
Previous barn storage, I think I
Oh,
indicated.
okay, yeah, I see that now, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all I have.
Ed, questions?
I had a question, but I just found it. I was wondering what happens to the barn that's there now. It was going bye-bye.
It's gotta go bye-bye, yeah.
Give any thought about putting them two together?
What's that?
Give any thought to putting the new one attached to the existing?
I don't, because it needs a lot of work, and the ceiling heights aren't good, and it's not insulated, it's not, it would take a lot more work just to frame that out. And it also hurts the plan overall as far as the building being in one maintained and new. That was kind of where we're trying to be at, so we don't have as much maintenance in the future on it.
That's it for me.
So, to follow up with my questions before, the garage itself, 7,488 square feet. And you're telling me that's not going to expand your business? Because, the condition, you have a number of conditions. And to grant a modification for a use variance, there needs to be, it needs to be addressed, the issue of you're not going to expand your business or create a more intense use of the property. You are more than doubling the size of the current structure that you're in now. I don't understand how it is that you're not going to expand your business then, with a building that's more than double of where you currently work out of.
So based on the floor plan, most of it will be for either storage or a place where they can keep vehicles that they're not working on, that they're going to work on, or stuff like that, and then also the apartment.
All right, so let me ask it a different way. Should this board grant the variance, the modification, production won't be expanded, it's not going to be a more intense use, it's just for storage. Is that accurate, or am I missing something?
It's, production is not, no, it's going to be for material storage, but vehicle installation, which we currently do in the other building. We're trying to free up that area so that we can have more working area in our current building, because we're tight, and we got to spread our wings a lot more. So we want to move mainly materials over, but also, once we move the materials and we're opening up a floor space, when we bring vehicles in, it covers our floor space, so we lose production area. So
Will you be able to produce more should the 7,488 square foot building be constructed?
yeah, I would answer yes, but every year we produce more since we've came into business, so.
I understand that's the idea. We're trying to fit the criteria here and fill in the facts on if it's going to expand, how much more is it going to expand? And is it going to create a more intense use of the property?
I guess defining the intense use of the property besides the building is what I don't.
I think you mentioned, for example, you were also looking to hire a couple extra employees.
That's another piece. That's a condition to the modification before,
Of
that
the
it was
other-
supposed to be
right.
maximum 7 employees. You've indicated you want more employees. That's an indication that you're going to produce more, there's going to be a more intense use of the property, which would not bode well for the application to be granted.
Okay.
I'm trying, I can't answer the questions for you, right? I'm trying to understand what your proposal is and how is it going to impact, if at all, the property.
I mean, well, yes, we're out for business growth. That is what we're doing. We, over the 20 years we've been there, we, you know, if you walked in our building, we just engulfed the building over time with equipment and materials. So at this time, you know, we got our back against the wall, so we're looking for the alternative. And the alternative was to either go somewhere or put up another building.
Okay, so let me ask you, is it possible you've outgrown the property and it may be time to look for a different piece of property? I'm not micromanaging your business. It's just a question, a thought on, have you outgrown that property?
Have I outgrown the current building? Yes. The property, I mean, if the property allows the additional building, then I would say no.
All right. The other analysis that was done years ago for a justification on granting the use variance is that the property in and of itself, it was cost prohibitive to convert it back to residential use. And there was a number of times that it was mentioned that I saw both from an attorney, I don't know if it was your attorney that represented, but it stated that it's just not set up for residential use. But now you're telling us you want to put 2 apartments in there which are residential. It seems a bit of a contradiction. Can you separate that for me and explain it?
Since COVID 2020, everyone's lives have changed, our business has also changed. So I guess I'll rewind, our materials, just to print 10 yard signs that say, vote for me, I'm running, or my daughter graduated high school, is a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet. When we are getting these in, we order them, because since COVID, 3 years now, we can't order 5 sheets to charge the customer the normal price that they would like to play. Obviously, you go to dinner, you pay more money per place. So I think since 2020, we've realized that we lost a few employees. Me and my husband are working our butts off to maintain a business with 7 employees. B, times have changed with gas money going here. Our daughter's graduating from college this year, 4 years. She might help out, take some of my role because I can't work full-time anymore, to take care of my son. So since he stopped driving a year and a half ago and got sick, we kind of were tooling around like, if we're working our lives away, right here, we can also grow the business where we could get another piece of equipment that could cut the materials for us, which is almost another employee, but it's a piece of, it's a machine. Time management. Jobs are coming in, we can't turn around fast enough for people. With the way that COVID has brought to our industry, as well as many industries, is we're short-staffed. I can take phone calls all day for stuff and give people great deals, but I don't have any workers. So me and my husband, for 26 years, we're realizing that we are the business. We've got employees, but could we turn around if we got this proposed to save space, materials over there? We can open up the back where we do installs now. We're not looking to double our business because I don't want to manage more than 7 employees. It's not fun. It's 26 years of our life. So with that being said, COVID's changed a lot for us. And here we are today, not knowing a lot of factors about the business and where it's going.
I completely understand COVID.
So we got this idea about a year ago and just thought, shoot our ideas out, see what's acceptable, see what's not. But the material specs, that's the big thing, is it's taking up room. I mean, we've got it going up high, but it's bulky. And if, we did own 4 properties in Victor for the last 10, 15 years, and since our fire on Main Street, we downsized. We sold a lot of things. We don't want to be property managers. We don't want to rent things. So it would put, if we did downsize our property, we would live in that other apartment.
Right, I completely understand
So
the negative.
hardships have changed.
I completely understand the negative impact COVID has hit
Yeah.
many, many, many small businesses.
Yes.
I understand that completely, as best as I can understand. But trying to understand how an initial residential that's not going to work there, now all of a sudden it will work there, and how does the residential piece then tie into the commercial piece of it? To me, it's a clear apples and orange argument. Residential, personal, that's a very separate issue from business. And the other piece, as far as the size of the storage, right now it comes to mind car dealerships. Van Bortle, let me finish the sentence and you can
Okay.
answer. I'd love to hear it. Van Bortle does not store all their vehicles on those lots. They store them off-site. A friend of mine, that's what he does. We need such and such a car, go get it. He goes to get it, it comes back. It's a bit of a pain, but that's how they navigate the inventory when they need it off-site, a cheaper site, whatever it may be. If you thought about that, about storing materials, I know it's nice, it's convenient, you want to have it on site, but what about off-site?
Yeah.
Sure, I'd love to, I want to hear it.
I forgot what my question was going to be, or my answer.
On the apartment piece, because you were,
You saw my eyes going, okay, I got this answer.
you're going to have another shed, so I know it's a lot to digest. The county is
That's why we
going to
want
weigh
to
in.
start.
So if you want to come back
Yeah.
and, I know we're firing a bunch of questions at you. You're going to have lots of
Oh,
chances
I
to.
think what it was too was the builder that built our original building in 2005 was talking to us about sizes and stuff. So I think, too, Chris can explain that, was ask for something bigger and then downsize. I mean, we're open for suggestions too.
Okay.
I'm good, or you can answer some of that too.
Yeah, I can answer about the residential not being It's more if we were to move and have this turn into a residential, because the throughway's right there, and because of the location, it would be hard to get it to sell as a residential because it's already been commercial for 31 years. Keeping it commercial would be the easiest thing to do, and adding a building with apartments for the employees/owner would be easier, so they can all be in one area and don't have to worry about everything else. It's not more like they're selling the apartments, that they're moving into the apartments. So it would be harder to sell the apartments because of the location. So that's why they said that one would be for their son and one would be for them to move in.
Okay. The storage off-site?
Yeah, okay. Yep. So I'm a workflow nut lately, and I'm already having a little difficult time thinking about getting material from the building next to me, let alone 5 miles away at a off-site location. It's time to, and it's also a fork truck at one end and a fork truck at the other end and a box truck moving things. So if I run out of material and I have to fetch it and it takes me 20 minutes, that's 20 minutes of my day lost. And that's all we try and do in a workplace is gain time. So for me to factor in and say, I want to find an off-site location, doesn't even factor to my head very well as a workflow piece, just because it's, just doesn't make a lot of sense unless you were forced into that category. So this is an opportunity to see, where we can go, what is allowed, what we can do. The other point was, we do have a 40 by 60 pole barn existing, so it is a definite expansion in size, but there is a footprint there that already houses a pole barn. The footprint will be larger, the footprint will match our building. Aesthetically, I think it'll look a lot better. It'll be more professional presentation driving by than what is currently there. But also, obviously, we're looking for the gain to help the business, because the belt's a little tight with our space right now.
Any question? Go ahead.
Is there anything you can just do maybe to the existing building to give yourself, not 7,000 square feet, but,
Yeah, I did consider that. The ideal place to build would be behind it, which we don't really have the setbacks and everything that we could do to expand there. And I thought, actually, if we went out to the left side of the building, we couldn't go to the right side with the neighbors, it would just make, I actually thought 2 buildings would be easier than expanding ours and trying to double the size of our existing building all as one. I thought that was more approachable in the town facet than trying to add on to the structure. And the separation factor, with if apartments were allowed, I didn't really want that to be part of the main business structure as well.
the other part, one of the, I'm looking at the previous variance, actually this is from June 6, 2006. Item 4, where it says it's located adjacent to the thruway and across the street from the bus garage. It says there's one residential neighbor to the east of the property. It seems like it's gotten more residential over time, right? Does that mean that there was, at that time, there was no one to the west of you like there is now?
There's been no building houses or anything since we've been there. There's been no new development.
So the house to the west existed when?
Yes.
I'm not sure why I had that comment then. There is one residential neighborhood to the east.
Were you living in that house at the time?
We were living at 7126. I think he's referring to the house to the right of us there.
Right, so I think it was written that way because they owned the other house as
I
the
see.
applicant.
Okay.
Do you have anything from your neighbors regarding your application?
I do not. We are, we've had no outstanding issues or anything on our business or properties from any complaints since we've been there.
Have you spoken to them about the proposed structure?
We've talked to one of our neighbors, yes. We have not talked to all the neighbors, no.
Okay.
As well, are any of your employees remote employees by chance, or would any future employees be remote, so it wouldn't have?
We could possibly look at the designers as a potential remote, but the other production people in the front
Regular
office, yeah, it's kind of a tough. And then, I don't know, I just been one of those, once you give one person that leeway, then
Yeah.
I didn't want to open up that can, kind of. I mean, in time.
I get
things
it's hard,
change.
but everybody's, if we want to refer to our reaction to COVID, that's kind of what everyone has done, right? And I'm just saying, if you're looking to say, I want to have 9 employees or 10 employees, I guess my next question will be, well, can some of those be remote and still not have the impact on the, I forgot the specific language, but the incremental,
Yeah.
additional intensity?
Quite honestly, the two
Space.
employees that we are looking to try and add next would be basically replacing my wife and I. So it's kind of not, we're looking to slim down our time there and look to bring in a couple people that can kind of help us step away a little bit. So that's our intention of adding 2 people, is to actually pull 2 people away. I know in the eyes of things, it doesn't look that way, but that's our intention.
And does the request have an ask for additional people, or is that just something we're talking about here? 'Cause
This is something we're talking about today.
That was a condition.
Before, right, of 7, but I didn't see in the application where it's asked for another 2 or 3, or what that
But
number.
would it be on this application, or is that a separate application?
That would be, you would need to have, it's a modification for the use variance, because that was a condition for the use variance.
Okay.
But I would think that it would make a difference, to Matt's point. Are we talking about 7 employees on site all the time? Or would you, if you were running the company and you're doing or who's ever doing the books, and it's always you, always off-site, you're never really on the floor. So at any one given time, there would be a maximum of 7 employees on site. I think that's a distinction that needs to be made. Or if you need more employees, would there be more than 7 employees on site at any given time?
Yeah, 20-year-old business plus, it's, we didn't know our growth path. We didn't know our success rate, and we didn't know, we do have a sizable building now. Just the way we conduct business with our materials and our equipment, we don't have a desire to, or a need to have 20 employees, but, we hit that top, as it was set 20 years ago. And now, we are at an evolution stage that we are looking to try and, push forward a little bit, and a couple employees are going to be necessary.
I didn't quite get the answer I was looking for. On the floor, on site at
Yeah.
any given time, what would be the maximum employees you'd have?
Currently 7.
What are you looking for on site at any given
Well,
time?
I guess 2 more, so it would be 9.
So then, if that's the case, I think you're going to need to amend your request for the modification for a use variance and include that piece in.
Okay.
For example, the county's not reviewing that, right, as part of
A part of their review.
their review
Okay.
package, because they,
The 2017, when we put the addition on, was that not changed? Or was that,
That is
Was it
my
there?
reading of the history, that condition of a maximum of 7 employees was in there.
okay.
So
So we never met that max until 2017, when we lost our other building and moved up there. But that's why I just didn't know if it was in that 2017. I think that's what happened, was paperwork got
So it is,
jumbled.
let's see if I can find it. Adam, do you know where that is? Where that specific language is, that it's a maximum of 7 employees?
outside of the 2006 document. That was the one I
Yeah,
was reading.
right, 2006, June 6, 2006, condition, maximum number of employees is not to exceed 7 employees.
Correct, and then we did an addition in 2017, so 2 people from Main Street, when the fire happened, moved up there. That's what I'm asking, was there anything updated in 2017?
No, that only went to the planning board, so those conditions on your use variance would remain.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we have to edit.
But that's probably, it is. It's going to delay the process, because now the county has to be aware of that. Notification needs to be given to the public. So we're not going to be able to decide this issue at the next meeting. There's probably going to be this cycle after that. It
You want
makes
us
sense or not? 'Cause
Yeah.
there's a public notice issue that needs to be given.
You want us to reapply with stating that the number of employees will change to X and,
Right, ask for it.
okay.
Because
Ask
right
that
now-
with the modification.
Right now, the public notification procedure hasn't been met. We're just hearing about this now.
Also, sorry to cut you off, Mike. Also, because your zoning application says 1 apartment and your planning application said 2, so that should be amended as well.
Okay.
There's no additional fee, just, it's an amendment to your original application, and then
They get it
would be as
recycled
if
through.
when we come back, I don't think we need to come back on the 15th. 'Cause you would need to do this all over again. I'm just motor planning it through a little bit. I think what we need to do is get the amendment done as soon as you can, come back on the 15th, but we're not going to have the county comments, because they're going to need a new set of information in front of them, and it's going to be the cycle after that. But it'll give you a chance, I think, to get some time. The questions we've asked of you is, how do the apartments relate, and can you, it's cost prohibitive maybe to store off-site, those kinds of things that we're asking you now, and maybe get some answers next time.
Sounds good.
All right?
Yep.
Anyone else? Questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I would just say, on the building itself for the business, obviously I don't want to hold your business back, but it would be, for myself personally, if you had something from your neighbors, written, or they don't have to come, but, something in writing, supporting, or, how they feel about the project would be helpful for at least myself to make a decision.
Okay.
And then on the apartments if you had something, about really what you were planning on doing with it, because the variance runs with the land, if one day you sell the property and it's not you and your family, the owner's after you, are they gonna rent it out? Those things are kind of concerning, at least for myself, going forward on the apartment side of it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? Great, okay, good.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. Have a good night. Okay. Now, let's circle back to the Puncheon matter.
He's here so much, you kind of miss him. It doesn't seem like we should have a meeting without him being here.
I was gonna ask Adam, that open sign was pretty darn close to the road when I drive by it.
If you would
I
like to
didn't get out my
file
ruler.
a complaint, Matt,
Okay, so, to refresh everyone's recollection, there were 2 parts for his application. One dealt with the flags, and the other dealt with the window lit box. The flags was denied, that was fine, resolutions, it's all taken care of. But when I drafted the proposed resolution, I did it in the positive, thinking that the board was likely to grant the variance relative to the window box sign. So when I didn't get a motion, I then figured, well, then it looks like there's not enough support for it, so it need to go in a denial. But all of the language that I had inserted for the proposed resolution was in the positive. So what we need to do is, not asking to undo it, is put the justification in the resolution on why the denial is. All right? So as we're going through the criteria, is the first one being, again, this is for this window sign itself. that an undesirable change would be, would produce the character of the neighborhood would be a detriment to nearby properties created by granting. So what would then be the justification for those who didn't want to grant the variance? What are the concerns? How that particular sign, window sign, would change the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties?
So that was the window sign that was lit?
We buy gold, we buy.
A four-piece
Yes, we buy.
sign.
The four-piece, and it would be lit, is that the sign?
It would be
Right,
lit
he's-
24/7.
Right, he was entitled to, code allowed, open, that's all. But what he was asking for was, we buy gold, we buy silver, we buy coins.
Right, and I think I remember it was even going to be a lit sign, that he wanted that open originally 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure it's the right thing I'm responding. So I think our.
What is it that we're going to fill in the blank here for the justification for it being a detriment to nearby properties?
That there are no other properties with lit signage in the windows that aren't adhering to the current code, and that the size of the sign itself, I don't have it in front of us, was rather large. I don't think.
2 by 3, maybe? 2 by 4?
Yeah, the lit up sign was large, and the lit up sign was not within character of the neighborhood, giving there are no other buildings,
The Dr.
businesses in that
Cottrell
location
sign might
that
be
have
on
one.
it.
Hold on, one at a time. Let them finish, and then I want to hear what Fred has to say. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, there are no other window signs of that size and lit up within that neighborhood. There may be exterior signs.
Yeah, there's,
There are no other lit up window signs of that size in that neighborhood.
And I would also add the aesthetics of the proposed window sign is not in character with the neighborhood.
How so?
Well, the colors, the font type, and the size.
Fred, you want to add anything else to that?
no. I'm not sure he was thinking 24 hours.
He
He
had.
said 11 o'clock.
No, he had originally, the first time he said 24 hours, and then, I talked,
It
the
was vaguely
reasons
written
why.
on the application.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
fishing for what he could get.
It just said at night.
Right, and then at the second meeting, he again was mentioning having it on during the night.
I think one of us had asked if he would be willing to do it just business hours, and he said no. He wanted it after business hours.
All right, so instead of 24 hours, let's put after business hours. So we are looking at, there were no other properties in the neighborhood that had the size, the size of the sign, it being lit up, the aesthetics, the font type, the hours after operation.
In the window.
In the window, right, this is just the window one. That are not in character of the neighborhood. That work for everyone?
Yes.
You know that? I'm probably gonna have to tweak it a little. All right, then for the second, the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. He is certainly entitled to have an open sign But to be, we could add it something different if you want, but I think it's just, he's entitled to an open, that should have been sufficient. All right, we're good with that?
Yep.
The requested area variance is substantial, relating back to the first criteria, that the size of the sign of being lit up, request for being lit after hours, the aesthetics and the font type is substantial. We're all good with that?
Yes.
Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. We're okay with that. If the alleged difficulty is self-created. Right, that's good? Good. Additions, comments, concerns? Okay. Then, just as a formality, the motion, do we know who brought the motion?
And Alexis for the first and second for the denial, I believe.
Okay, so Fred, you're good with that we're going to keep with that. You brought the motion, Alexis seconded it for the denial.
Sure.
Okay, we're all set? Good. That takes care of that little bit of
How does
business.
that get distributed then?
As far as what?
The change become public?
He is aware of it. I did contact him prior to the meeting, telling him that we were going to be discussing this. I'll send it to him as soon as I can.
So, right, when I looked at the resolution for my signature, as I indicated, we had the motion that was brought for the denial, but the justification was made in the positive, and nobody brought that motion. So now we just have the justification that was already in the minutes to begin with. So all we're doing is just extrapolating the finding of facts from the minutes, from the April minutes, into the resolution, the printed resolution, so I can sign it. Okay, we're good?
Yep.
Wonderful. Drew? Want to give us any, what we need to know?
30 seconds.
Big truck day?
It's working, we're coming along with that. Yeah, from the town board, things are going well, coming into the summertime, so obviously the building and planning picks up a little bit, but as far as really big town board things, I mean, the eminent domain proceedings just picked back up again on our appeal. So we had our public hearing on that at the most recent town board meeting, and I anticipate similar to the last time, it's going to be a multi-month process to get through that, and that relates to that old Lord and Taylor property. So I think we were pleased to see that the folks from Eastview that presented at the public hearing were a little bit more forthcoming and kind of some plans they have for that property, and they outlined, you know, two potential things that they're working through, one being an international retailer and one being a local food type store. So those are two things they identified, and we'll see where that process goes. It certainly didn't work out in the favor of our appeal the first time through the appellate court, and we'll see where this one goes. And then two employment changes. Brittany Pender is in the clerk's office as the deputy clerk, so if you haven't met her yet, just stop in to say hello. And then congratulations to Casey Page. She was promoted at the most recent board meeting to a position of supervisor department head over at the transfer station. Really to recognize her for the duties that she's carried out successfully for a number of years, and really now her job title is commensurate with the duties that she has been and continues to perform. Roadway petitioning, I actually just saw one come through, and I can't remember, you remember, Amber, where that was? There was one that was just approved, I saw, where they're going to actually change the speed limit on the streets, which might be the first one I've seen since I've been with the town. But we are petitioning.
Is it on High Street?
High Street.
It was not. It was a different one. It wasn't the school. I mean, that's what I was actually going to mention, was we just did the petition for the school. So with an incident that we had there, you know, that was kind of a catalyst to it, to try to drive that High Street speed from the 40, which I believe it is now, down to the full, up to Lane Road would be a school set speed limit, which I think would be certainly appropriate and helpful. And now that we have a couple of neighborhoods where we have, you know, more kids walking to and from school, that would be nice to see some speed reduction there. Certainly, you don't see too many school areas where it's 40 miles per hour. So I think bringing that down, I hope that the state sees that as an advantage.
What would it be reduced to? I'm just
I would hope
curious.
25. So the village, and unfortunately, and I don't know a tremendous amount about it, but in a town of the first class, towns have the ability to change their own speed limits. We do not. So we have to go through the DOT and petition them to change speed limits. The village has the authority and the legal right to set village speed limits on village roads within the village. So, for example, where High Street breaks off of West Main, they have the legal authority to set 25 to where it hits the village-town line. After that, it's out of our jurisdiction to set those speed limits. Is it? Yeah, I can't recall specifically, but the village, so it's very interesting. We've run into cases where it's outside really the purview of what we're talking about, but over on Lineon, when we did the roundabout there, it's an interesting thing where the village owns one side, the town owns the other. So technically, we could have a speed limit differential between northbound and southbound on that road, one side being 25, one side being something higher. So it's very interesting how that works. We have had a very long struggle, it sounds like, with getting speed reductions, and it would be nice to see, especially that school area, get reduced. So I think that was 30 seconds, right? Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good? Good. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Good. Have a nice night. Thank you so much.